Well, hello friends, happy Sunday to you. We are back to our regularly scheduled programming here. I am not in a button-up shirt today. Yesterday was Meet the Candidates. It was really great to interact with my fellow candidates, all the counselor candidates, members of the public, residents like you if you were there. It was an absolutely wonderful time. And thank you to all of those of you who messaged me with encouragement and support before and after. As you can imagine, it is quite grueling, but I think I represented really well what it is that I want to say, what it is I want to stand for, and ultimately everybody wins when all the candidates can clearly state exactly what it is they are running for and what it is they would like to accomplish. And so it was overall a wonderful day and a wonderful success and an absolutely packed standing room only house, which is really encouraging to see. This is what democracy looks like, as they say. But today I want to go back to, and we'll just cover it today, a kind of brief roundup of last Wednesday's council meeting. Yes, we are reviewing last Wednesday. I have in my hand the agenda. The link will be on Facebook and YouTube if you are watching that on either of those platforms, if you're watching this on either of those platforms. And I want to kind of, again, just run down briefly, as I will do when I'm your mayor, details and information around what was in the agenda, what was decided on, and why. Obviously, as I've said before, for such breakdowns here of the meetings, I'm doing this as an outsider. As mayor, I hope to be able to do this as an insider, someone with that behind-the-scenes approach to fill you in on what's going on. And I will attempt to do that better in the meetings as well. Sometimes, when somebody makes a statement like, there's some room left in our council grant fund, and this will come out of that. Well, I'd like for you to know exactly what the council community grant fund is, how much is left, for example, and that kind of thing. So sometimes council will just allude to things, refer to things, and not, if you're not privy to the ins and the outs of things like the council grant fund or that kind of thing, you're like, whoa, what is that? Where did that come from? How much is in there? How much is left? How much is granted in a year? Those are the things that, of course, the people in the know just all take for granted. But if you are a member of the public, that could be portrayed to you a lot better than it often is. And so that's an example. But let's pick up, I 2 days ago went over the airport master plan, an absolutely fascinating report that was generated by an outside consultancy firm about how to make the airport profitable, all the opportunities that are there in the airport, and the tremendous costs that are involved, and how we would share those out so that, again, this can be a source of wealth for St. Stephen, but a lot of money has to be invested in. So there's a few options there around sharing, cost sharing, whether or not to offload it as in terms of ownership to Southwest Service Commission or a private airport authority or that kind of thing, and then share the revenue out that is earned and that kind of thing. So you can watch that video from 2 days ago. We are picking up then with the bylaws, section J of the agenda. And the first thing was bylaw D2. I've mentioned this in other videos, but if you're new to this game here, D2 is a bylaw that would, it's a document essentially that was developed with the Southwest Service Commission and with Future St. Stephen. It's a development package, basically a developer package. It's called the Development Incentives Bylaw, and it is part of a package that you can deliver to builders, developers, housing developers who want to come to St. Stephen and perhaps build a specific kind of structure on properties. And the way to attract builders is to make this a very simple process with plots of land, lots that are already designated, earmarked, ready to go, serviced with pipes and pavement, as we like to say here. Many videos I've said pipes and pavement because the municipality needs to cover the costs of servicing roads and sewer and water to a new development. So obviously, we want as a municipality to focus on areas that already have pipes and pavement. and then ask developers to infill, to build on those lots where that kind of servicing exists already. And the way to do that is to present a package to developers. They look at it and say, that's a great looking lot. It's got the square footage we need. It's serviced. We could put this kind of structure on it. Boom. That's how we get more housing here in St. Stephen. And as I've said before, housing is my number one priority. And that includes the shelter and getting bridge housing. But we need all kinds of housing here to bring our vacancy rates higher. A low vacancy rate is bad, right? That means that there's almost no spots open for people to move to within town, within the municipality, within our wards, or from outside. And we absolutely need people to move here to increase the tax base, as we say, the number of people who are paying taxes, as opposed to increasing our tax rate. So housing is crucial. Council did pass this, and so that package will be ready to be distributed to developers. Now, the next thing on the agenda, that's, by the way, there were two items here, second reading and third reading, and I've explained this before, but if this is your first video, something can become, a bylaw becomes effectual after 3 readings. That allows for time to change, time for changes between the readings. And so you had first reading, second reading, and third reading. Second and third reading are allowed to happen on the same date, according to the Local Governance Act. And so that's what happened, and now it is in effect once it's signed by the mayor and the clerk. So that's item number 2 under bylaws, second reading, third reading. And then there was the remuneration of council. And basically this was brought up, there was some discussion, a little bit of debate. The CAO did provide some explanation around options for remuneration, because we're not just talking about the compensation or the honorarium that councillors and the mayor will receive. That is spelled out in there, how much money they get in exchange for their service to the community in this role, but also the training piece. Will they be forced to take training, or will they not be? Now, unfortunately, the province decided not to make municipal training for councillors and the mayor mandatory. So they can opt out from a provincial level. What municipalities now are doing is trying to incentivize either with a carrot or a stick, and that's what was discussed here. A punitive approach would be to say a councillor or mayor will not get their payment or their full payment if they do not take specified training programs and learning opportunities in terms of coursework or that kind of thing when it comes to development of their role, expanding their knowledge and learning and training. So that would be the punitive approach, to take pay away. And then an incentivizing approach would be to add certain pay or reward in some way if they do take training. So some councillors preferred the punitive approach. It wasn't very popular to take pay away from councillors if they didn't take training. Most of the councils, I'd say kind of the consensus would be around incentivizing, that is adding a reward, although some councillors said, like, we shouldn't reward for something you're doing already. Although one councillor said, I've never taken training, I never would, I find it a waste of time. Okay, so that was that was Councillor Harding's approach. Another councillor said, I mean, when you go to these trainings like the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, just rubbing shoulders with your colleagues is immensely beneficial. And as someone who goes to, industry conferences myself, when you are sitting with colleagues who also do the job that you do, I do agree. It is immensely, you go to the keynotes and the breakout sessions, but also just talking to colleagues, comparing notes. What are you doing in your world? It is hugely beneficial. So council decided to table this and let the next council decide. They didn't want to decide this now for the council coming in. And so that will be something number 1 on the agenda for the next council to determine. And I'll just go on record to say, as the mayor, you cannot force your council to do anything. You are part of that council. So I would like to see a consensus in the next council to make training an absolute priority. Again, some council are on record saying, I will never do that. Ultimately, you, the voter, decide. If a councillor is on record saying, I wouldn't go to training, I've never taken training, do you want to vote that person back in? This is how it works, really, is the election is the time to assess and evaluate the performance of your councillors. And then, so that was 2 items on the agenda, second and third reading, but it was tabled, so that got kind of wiped off the table. Now we're into the new business, and the next item was Chocolate Museum requested funding, $2,000. That would come out of, as I said, the Council Community Grant Fund, and Council approved that, $2,000 to help the Chocolate Museum get through a difficult period right now. As co-owners, they decided to do that. They do not fund operations. The Council Grant Fund has very specific stipulations around what makes someone eligible for that funding. But in this case, there seems to be an exception to the rule because the municipality is co-owner. So this council felt like that was an acceptable exception to be made here. A couple of then May Day requests, a low flyover for May Day. May Day is May 30th. There's going to be a airport May Day on May 30th. So there's going to be a low altitude flyover. The fire department requested to be on site. Those things were approved. Then the Age-Friendly Community Committee put out the terms of reference. There are 9 people on that committee. If you're not familiar with Age-Friendly, again, click the link here in the link below in the description, but you will see that St. Stephen is seeking age-friendly designation. Like all of our neighbors, we're a bit late to the game, but Brenda Lee, the ED, did come and present a couple months ago, and St. Stephen is on board. I am in full support of this. We want our community to be age-friendly, so what happens is this committee does an assessment of the municipality to discover the strengths and weaknesses, things to improve on to make it more age-friendly for our seniors, and then that list is presented, and the municipality needs to accomplish and achieve multiple items on that list. There's a certain threshold, and once those things are accomplished, then our municipality gets the designation and continues to work on things. Every 2 years, there's a reassessment, and the only cost of the municipality for age-friendly community is getting the work done, infrastructural work, maybe lower sidewalk curbs and ramps and things like that. And if I'm your mayor, I will continue to inform you on how we're making progress and exactly what we're doing in terms of making this place more age-friendly. I'm fully on board with that. Downtown facade improvement the program amendments. This is something where council discussed at committee of the whole, now accepting metal siding for the downtown to use a fund that is part of the municipal budget, so taxpayer money, to help businesses refurbish their storefronts to have a certain look. Previously, the stipulations in the program said that we would reimburse your siding costs, this is up to a maximum of $7,500, if the siding was wood. Well, there's a proposal by a business downtown that said, well, no, it's not wood siding, but it's siding that looks like wood. The council found that acceptable, and so they are changing the stipulation for the, they're amending the facade program stipulation to include metal wood that looks like siding, metal siding that looks like wood. Frankly, I am not a fan of this because, well, you know when something is wood, you know when something looks like wood, and it looks better when it's wood. But this is what the council decided. This is an example of if I were the only voice at the table stipulating that and the council voted it down, then I would support, even though I didn't agree. That's what happens when the council votes a certain way. So the next item was then the business that requested the reimbursement for the work done on their storefront. They will get reimbursed, and because the stipulation was changed. Then there were some tenders for trucks that are on the agenda here, and Chandra Best did get up during the public comment period and point out that according to this, the amount to buy these trucks, I skipped the street improvement tender award. The street improvement tender awards, that's very exciting. I'm looking at the time here. $4.5 million. The companies that will perform the pavement, the resurfacing of roads, it is done. It is passed. Those crews are going to start getting to work very soon. following the order of roads that need to be paved from worst to less worst, according to the Dillon Consulting report that was done last year. So we'll start to see road work very soon, and $4.5 million will get a lot of the work done. There were concerns around the tender and prices increasing, but getting that done quickly, getting that tender signed is a good thing. Back to the truck tender. This means the municipality would like to buy a truck a couple of trucks, three-quarter ton truck, very large trucks, to the tune of $191,000 plus. Chandra Best did point out this is $50,000 over budget. She kind of asked for an explanation there. She is running for council. And then this was suspended. The CIO said, can we take this off the table? I would like to do a little bit more work on this proposal, this tender. And so the council was happy to table that. And so we'll find out more about why it's over budget, what the CIO needed to look into, etc. Then there are council reports here. You can read those. I'm over time. One thing that I just wanted to say is I'd like to go into more detail about some of the council reports. For example, Councillor Harding is the chair of the Community Wellbeing Task Force. I want to talk about that in the next 2 weeks. Friends, it's hard to believe, but there are 15 days left until Election Day from tomorrow. That means only 15 more videos here. And I happened to prepare for Meet the Candidates yesterday 15 responses. I knew there'd probably be between 7 and 10 questions asked. So I prepared responses for 15 questions, knowing I would use some and not the others, but I wanted to be fully prepared to explain my positions on things. And so with 15 videos left, maybe you watched the Meet the Candidates live, maybe you'll watch it on the replays on CHCO. But for the next 15 days, I want to talk about those 15 responses that I prepared. It's a perfect number. I did not plan it that way, but it really does explain my thinking, my platform, what I would like to do as your mayor in detail. So that's how I'm going to spend the next 15 days, including getting into some of the topics that are going to touch on some of these reports. For example, the Community Wellbeing Task Force and what we expect from them in the future. All right, this video is longer than usual, but I wanted to wrap up that whole meeting roundup today in one video. Like I said, tomorrow I'll start out on more topical things around what I find to be really important in the last 15 days leading up to the election. So I'm going to keep knocking on doors, and hopefully I meet you at yours soon if I haven't already. BuildUpStStephen.ca, that's my website. You can check that out for more. Take care of yourself on this beautiful Sunday. Take care of your neighbor, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.